Hi, my name is Elle. I'm a cross-stitch artist and designer here on TikTok, and today Kat is asking how much total is it going to cost me in materials and pattern for the epic Pokemon Tapestry piece that I'm working on. There are 4 main materials that I'm going to be including into the cost of this. So the pattern itself, which happens to be free, so I don't even have to worry about that one. The scroll frame that I am using to stitch this on, which for me is a necessity, I would not be able to do this pattern without it. That cost about $100 with having to purchase it and the modifications I had to make to that scroll frame. The third thing is the Ida cloth itself. I did have to order a very large piece of Ida cloth. It cost me about $50 to order a piece large enough to handle this pattern. And lastly, the most expensive part of this is actually the floss itself. This pattern is going to have 798,000 stitches when it's done in 235 or so different colors. So that's a lot of floss. I did a whole bunch of math earlier today to figure out exactly how much it was going to cost me in floss, and not including black and white, and I'll get to why in a minute. The floss is going to cost me somewhere in the neighborhood of $345 for all of the other colors. All totaled in this pattern, I'm gonna be doing over 90,000 stitches just with black, and I would have needed to buy 54 skeins of 310 just to do the black on this pattern. So I decided to instead spend $56 to buy a massive cone of DMC 310. So this has enough floss on it to get me 7.5 million stitches, instead of spending roughly the same amount of money and only getting about 100,000 stitches. It's a similar story with the B5200. I would have needed 15 skeins of it to do this pattern, but instead for $25, I got enough to do about 1.5 million stitches. So these cones are definitely going to last me way longer than this pattern alone. But all totaled, for the pattern, the scroll frame, the cloth, and all of the floss that I'm gonna need, we're coming in at about $575 to stitch this pattern. Yes, I'll probably be able to get that cost a little bit lower because I will use coupons and things like that when I'm buying floss, because I'm not buying it all up front. But even so, yes, this is going to be a very costly project to do. But again, I'm also spreading it out over several years. And aside from those initial purchases that I had to make up front of the scroll frame and the cloth and the big cones of black and white, all of the rest of it, the big bulk cost of it, is going to trickle out over time rather than being all at once. Thank you so much for your question. This was a lot of fun to sit down and figure out the math of and have an actual answer at the end of this is how much this project is going to cost to make, not including time. So thank you so much. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. Happy stitching.